Now
on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It is 7:06. It's Tuesday morning in your nation's capital, 11th day of June. Thanks for tuning in here. It's O'Connor and Company with Larry and Julie. We're going to get you through the morning. That's all you ask, and it's all we provide. That's the only guarantee, is that we're going to get you through the morning. Coming up in 30 minutes, Alicia Andrews running for the Republican nomination for Congress in Virginia 10. And then at 8:05, Cully Stimson will be joining us via the Heritage Foundation. It's Larry O'Connor, and that's Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
Good
It's a little late on that. Sorry.
There you are. Hey, remember that whole scandal involving the Loudoun County supervisors using tax dollars to go on lavish, big-time upgraded trips to resorts in Uruguay and Ghana? This was all under the guise of, a sister city relationship that we're creating in Loudoun County. And when pressed on the expense, Phyllis Randall, the chair, claimed this.
Well, again, when you say $1.37 billion in commercial investment, that return is a very high ROI. So 2,500 new jobs, $1.37 billion in investment.
There you go, $1.37 billion. They said that over and over again until, of course, they revised that number down from $1.37 billion to $57 million, which is a pretty big difference. Yeah. But even that appears to be fraudulent. Gary Katz is a former candidate for chairman at large in Loudoun County for the Board of Supervisors, and he penned a column at Loudoun Times sort of revealing all of this. Gary, thanks for joining us, sir.
Thank you very much, Larry and Julie. Appreciate it.
So we went from $1.37 billion to $57 million, and now have they quantified that $57 million of revenue they claim they got?
They have quantified it. They quantified it incorrectly. It's completely fictitious. None of that ever existed. It was not revenue. What they did was they took a report from the Department of Economic Development that cited estimated investment, and the Loudoun Times-Mirror actually asked them, what does estimated investment really mean? And the answer came back, it's capital, not revenue. So all of those numbers that you heard being quoted, that $1.37 billion, that wasn't revenue, that was capital. That was the money that businesses brought to the table in order to start their business in Loudoun County, which is apparently something that I guess the Department of Economic Development asks of businesses when they come to the county. How much money does it take you to start, and how many jobs are coming with you? So they conflated revenue and capital, and they called it, they credited the Sister City program with all of this quote unquote revenue, and that's where these numbers came from. It is indisputably false and wrong.
Well, and you point out also, and it's very important and critical to point out, that even though Phyllis Randall and her partner in crime, not legitimate crime, no one's been indicted quite yet, Julie Briskman, they are Democrats, but this is not a partisan issue. Supervisor Umstattd is a Democrat, and Supervisor Umstattd also wants to get to the bottom of all of this and is participating in trying to reveal emails and get FOIA'd up here, right?
That's exactly right. This is not a partisan issue at all. Supervisor Umstattd has been wonderful. She is the model of what a public servant should be. She's trying to protect the taxpayer and do right by the county, as is State Senator Russet Perry, who tried to push forward a transparency bill with Delegate Wiebert in the past legislative session in Richmond. And ultimately, it failed because there are folks in Richmond who have taken sister city trips who don't want to see this go away. So they don't want you to see what they're doing with that tax money that they're using to take extravagant, lavish vacations with. So yeah, this is something that has bipartisan support for transparency and for scrutiny to be applied so that this is not a fraudulent, widespread abusive program in the way that it currently is being used.
Yeah, the work of Nick Minnock, he won an award recently. WJLA won 6 first-place AP awards. AP, really a right-wing news outlet for outstanding news operation, outstanding election night coverage, and the coverage of this scandal involving this international travel. This has kind of brought the issue up again. These awards has sort of renewed interest in this. Has Phyllis Randall made any statements since this has sort of come out again? And again, I know it's not breaking news. We've known about this for a while, but the AP awards have sort of reignited interest in this issue.
So I have not heard any comment on this, but I have not been paying attention to, I guess Phyllis's threads or where she may be speaking in terms of since Nick announced that award was done. However, the issue is getting a whole lot of attention again because people are upset. And I did put forward a call to action on this to say that people should be upset and they should demand an investigation and that the media should be looking into this. And I've been hearing through the grapevine that there have been emails going in to the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office and to the Attorney General's office demanding an investigation. But that's all secondhand information. It does sound like the community is getting upset.
We're speaking with Gary Katz. He is a former candidate for supervisor at large in Loudoun County. I was going to ask you, what is the appropriate investigative body? Would this be done at the state level, as you just mentioned, from the Attorney General's office?
So I believe the first step would be the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office, but they may choose to push it to another investigative body to avoid any form of conflict potentially. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm speculating here that this is something that could be done. I know that the Commonwealth's attorney, is not shy of pursuing corruption. He's done this in the past, back in Leesburg when there were town council members who had abused a town credit card. And he was involved in that. This is back in the late 90s, early 2000s. But again, that would be a question, I guess, for them that would be right to ask of those bodies.
It seems to me that one of the most disturbing things when you cover obvious, blatant corruption in government, whether it's at the local county level like this or at the federal level, that the most disturbing thing is it's not illegal. I would venture to say that the Board of Supervisors voting themselves the opportunity to use tax dollars for international travel at luxury resorts, all under the guise of, this is going to increase revenue through a sister city program, that's probably actually not illegal. That's the real scandal here, Mr. Katz, is that this goes on every day. They feather their own beds. They're able to do these things and get away with it because they get to write the laws.
So that may well be true. I don't know the answer to that, but that is partly why I do believe that we need an investigation. Now, what I'll say and what I cited as in the article is that if you're going to take numbers that are indisputably false and claim them to be true and perpetuate that in publications, in the media, on camera, and make these claims, if these are knowingly false, I think that's an area for a body to investigate. I also think that when the upgraded hotel room, Phyllis Randall said that should have been paid back. She said that on camera, I believe, to Nick Minnock, and if not on camera, then in a follow-up correspondence with him. Yeah. And then half of that money was paid back as a result of Nick's excellent reporting, which, by the way, I'm very glad he got that award for. Yeah. However, the rest of the money was not paid back until an audit occurred 6 months later that had been triggered by Kristen Umstad, the Leesburg supervisor, as the finance chair. And that audit found that there was improper spending, and it compelled the chair to pay back the remaining balance of the money that had not yet been paid back. So here's the essence of the question. If I rob a bank and then 6 months later I pay the money back, did I no less rob a bank? Because the money got paid back, does that mean that nothing bad ever happened?
That's right. That's right, Gary Katz. It's a great point. And you also, by the way, listen, as these threads continue to be polled and the light is shown on their lies, and that's really what this story is more about, lies and cover-ups at this point, as you rightly point out. First it was 1 point whatever billion, then it was 57 million. That was also a lie. Eventually they're going to say, well, I guess we had no idea. We had no idea. Who was to have known? We had no idea. You point out that Julie Briskman, one of the characters involved here, brags about her MBA from Johns Hopkins University. So if she is that dense with that MBA, we're going to have to investigate the accreditation process at Johns Hopkins at this point.
I think that's a very fair point. I made that point. To think that they don't know the difference between revenue and capital is absurd. It means one of two things. It is an admission of utter incompetence or intentional deceit.
Why
You're
not
going to
both?
have to choose at least one of them.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know, Gary Katz. Right. We always lean toward both here when given a choice like that. Let's not be surprised that we are led by absolute corrupt individuals, and they happen to be morons as well.
Yes.
Not Gary Katz, though. Gary, great stuff. Thank you for staying on top of this on behalf of the taxpayers in Loudoun County.
Happy to do it. Thank you both so much for having me. I appreciate the time.
Bet. It is 7:16, so we better get straight to